Hello, today is September 28th, and we are reading today our Psalm for the week for the 19th Sunday after Pentecost, and our Psalm this week is Psalm 8. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth, you whose glory is chanted above the heavens out of the mouths of infants and children. You have set up a fortress against your enemies, to silence the foe and avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars you have set in their courses, what are mere mortals that you should be mindful of them? Human beings that you should care for them. Yet you have made them little less than divine. With glory and honor you crown them. You have made them rule over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet, all flocks and cattle, even the wild beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, and whatever passes along the paths of the sea. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. So Psalm 8 is a special psalm. One commentator, James Limburg, calls this a psalm for stargazers. It's a psalm about the peculiar place that human beings have in creation. That is, the psalm is asking the question, what are we in the midst of this amazing, huge creation? What are we to a creator God who creates things that are far bigger than we are? Where are we in this creation? Where do we belong? And it starts with, it is what they call in the Psalms and study of Psalms and in poetry generally. This psalm, and this is our vocabulary for the week, is a chiasm. That is, it begins with a phrase, O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. And it ends with that same phrase. So verse 1 and verse 8 are the same. And they're exactly the same phrasing. The poem of the psalm is structured so it begins with this thought and ends with this thought about the majesty of God's name. How majestic is your name in all the earth. And the first half of the psalm has a question. How majestic is your name, you whose majesty is chanted out of the heavens. You have created the heavens, the moon, and the stars. And it asks the question, what are mere mortals that you should be mindful of them? Human beings that you should care for them. So it has, those first four verses of the psalm are a question. As if, again, that phrase, a psalm for stargazers, sticks with you, because it is the feeling you get when you are lying on your back, looking at the sky on a starry night, and you're like, we are so small in comparison to the stars, these stars that are millions of miles away, light years and light years away from us, that we can see them. We see so much of existence that we have barely even scratched. All this is out there. And what are we, in our short time on earth, what are we in the scope of all of that? And so that's the first half of the question. And the second half of the question is an amazing answer. The answer to that disdainful question, what are humans? What are we in comparison to all these things? The answer is, yet you have made humans a little less than divine. And it says, with honor and with glory and honor you crown them. You have made them rule over the works of your hands. You have put all things under their feet. Humans we are part of creation. We are created beings. But we are the part of creation that beholds the rest of creation. In some sense, the moon and the stars are amazing things, but they can't behold themselves. They can't be in awe of the rest of creation. In some sense, we as humans, even among animals, seem to be uniquely capable of taking in the situation, the big picture, It is creation reflected on itself, and that's the gift that we've been given. And in some sense, that's what the psalmist is getting at. Because we can see creation, because we can affect it in great and terrible ways, especially here on Earth, we are capable of terrible destruction of other species, of the natural resources of this planet, of its climate even. We are given a terrible and important, not a terrible as in important responsibility. There's a lot of royal language here. Glory and honor you, crown them, rule over the works of your hands. A lot of the words in here get used in the royal psalms about David. And so we are invested with royal responsibility. In the Hebrew scriptures, the king is described as having great power, but even more responsibility for the people that he rules. And so, in some sense, where are humans in creation? We are between God and the rest of creation. That we have been given a role to rule over the works of God's hands. And that is a cause for awe. That God has deemed us, that God is not only majestic in God's own right, but that God has deemed us worthy of being given responsibility over an amazing creation. Psalm 8 is a beautiful psalm. It's a beautiful reflection on the wonder of the world around us and the wonder of our own role in it. The wondrous nature of that we have been given responsibility to take care, to value the creation that God has placed us in. That is a wonderful thing. And it's for that reason, Psalm 8, it was included as part of messages that were left on the moon. When the Apollo 11, little history at the end of this, when the Apollo 11 spacecraft went to the moon in 1969, leaders were invited from all over the world, were invited to put a message on a disc that was then going to be left on the moon, and that disc is still there. Pope Paul VI, who was the Pope at the time in 1969, he included this psalm, Psalm 8. And I think that is a very appropriate psalm to be included for at that time, and especially now, in a time when human technology has given us the ability to travel even beyond the limits of our atmosphere. This is an amazing time that we live in, and this psalm has become more important than ever. That is all I have for today. I hope you have an excellent week. Bye-bye.